breaking down the economic horror in less than 10 minutes. Now, the United States is approaching $20 trillion worth of debt. Yes, there is other calculations out there showing that we have about 200 trillion of unfunded liabilities, and that's our real debt number. But let's just look at the 20 trillion that we have right now. Now, going back in time up to 2008, all the presidents up to Obama, they put on $9 trillion worth of debt. In Obama's term from 2008 to 2017, he put on $10 trillion worth of debt. That brings us to jobs. Now, we have lost about 1.5 million manufacturing jobs. We have gained 1.5 part-time jobs, and we are continually losing jobs every single day. At the same time, median family income is continually dropping. Since the Great Recession in 2008, median family income is continually dropping. So we are losing jobs, we're getting more part-time jobs, and we can see that there are more and more people going on food stamps. And we can see over the many years, starting from 2008, we have skyrocketed the number of people on food stamps. At the same time, we were told to go back to school. After the Great Recession and everything completely fell apart, people have told all the students, you must attend college to get a great job. The student loan bubble now has surged, skyrocketed since 2008. And many of these students, well, they cannot find a job. So what's happening right now? They are living with their parents. We are at a 75-year high where young adults are now living with their parents. Why? Because they cannot find jobs. They can't get those high-paying jobs when they come out of college. They have student loans. They have a lot of debt. And this is why the government has been spreading out the student loan repayment. They're going by the student's income. Now, when we look at everything and we take everything up to this point, we can see now this is why the labor force participation rate is continually dropping. These are the individuals who are out of the workforce, who can't find jobs, who've given up. And remember how this works. If you haven't been on an interview in 4 weeks, you are no longer counted. But if we look at the real unemployment rate, not the 4.8, not the 4.7, not the 4.9% that the government is continually pushing out, because they've changed the calculation to fit their model. If we look at shadow stats and we use the calculation before it was changed, we can see the unemployment rate is around 23%. Now that makes more sense. Since the unemployment rate is at 23%, what do we see? We see retail stores that are closing. More and more stores are closing. We see that 3,500 just in the beginning of 2017, those stores are closing. Payless, Macy's, Target, you name it, stores are closing. Once these stores are closed, what happens? People lose their jobs. There is space emptying up all over the place. We're going to have a commercial real estate bubble. So we have a student loan bubble. We have a debt bubble. We have a commercial retail space bubble. We also see that home ownership, well, that is dropping like a rock. So who's buying all these houses? Why are the prices of houses continually moving up? Well, this was fixed. We have Case-Shiller that looks at 20 cities around the country. Those cities are controlled. We had the Fed giving free money. Hedge funds, investment companies, they were told to buy up thousands and thousands of homes and keep them if you can. Do not rent them out, which will drive prices up. The banks were told, do not put foreclosures on the market. Let the people live in the houses. And this is what they did, and prices were driven up. But we can see right now mortgage applications are continually dropping. We see home ownership dropping. Now let's go backwards for a second. We understand that students went back to school. They took out loans. We have a student loan bubble. They couldn't find jobs, so they're living with their parents. That is at a 75-year high. Retail then, that was closing because they didn't have the money to buy retail. So stores started to close. Online sales only make up 1/10 of retail. So we can't blame it on online. We can't blame it on the weather. We have commercial real estate bubble because now we have retail stores closing and we have a lot of space available. These students, they can't purchase houses because why? They're not making an income. They can't even pay back their student loans. So how in the world do we have growth when we're losing the manufacturing jobs? When we have more and more part-time jobs? Well, GDP, that has gone nowhere. They changed the calculation once again over time. And what we're seeing right now is GDP continually dropping and dropping and dropping. We didn't even get above 2%, and that is the manipulated number. If we look at the real number from Shadow Stats, what do we see? We are at -2%. It is getting worse, not better. That brings us back to the national debt. We are at 19.8 trillion in the national debt realm. And that, of course, that is the number the corporate media puts out there. So what does that tell us? That tells us we're coming up to the debt ceiling vote. Once we hit 20 trillion, guess what? Everything shuts down. The government can't borrow. That means the Congress is going to have to make decisions. Should we take out another credit card and continually add more debt, which is going to make the situation worse? If we don't have enough cash in the Treasury to keep the country running. So we have a major problem. What are the indicators showing us that we are in this incredible recession heading to this collapse of the economy? Well, we have industrial production, and every time we've seen a drop in industrial production, what happens? We are in a recession. Go back to 2008, go back to 2001, go all the way back. You can see from the graph, we are in a recession. Here we are once again. It is flashing recession. What's another indicator to let us know we're in a recession? Well, the Fed Labor Market Condition Index. Year on year, every time it drops below zero, what happens? We are in a recession. Look back in time. Recession, recession, recession. These are all the indicators letting us know that we are headed, or we are already in a recession. We are heading into a collapse scenario. Last time when the Fed raised their rates, guess what happened? We entered the Great Recession. Of course, we had the subprime securities and all that type of problems, but look what is happening once again. If we go back in time and we track when they raised the rates back before 2008, we can see what happened. They started to raise the rates in 2006. They raised it from 4.5% all the way up to 5.25%. And guess what happened? People started leaving their houses because they had adjustable rate mortgages. They couldn't pay for the payments. Home sales fell. And all of a sudden, corporations started to decline. So quickly, what did they do? They started to lower the rates because they knew that this was going to happen and they were going to have to bring the rates down to 0%, which we have been in for a very long time. But they decided to start raising rates right now. They raised the rates in December of 2016. They raised it in 2017. They're going to raise it 3-4 more times. This is a signal letting us know that the economy is getting ready to be brought down. We're following in the same footsteps that we followed in the past. Now, while all this is going on, what do we see? We see China, we see Russia. They are preparing right now to separate themselves from the U.S. economy, from the dollar. Already, China, Russia, they have created their separate and apart SWIFT system, where they don't have to be part of the international banking system. We also see that Beijing and Moscow, well, they're going to bypass the US dollar in the world money market. How are they going to do this? Well, they're going to trade without the dollar. They're going to use gold as a backing system. So we can see right now they're moving completely apart, and they have been ramping up gold supplies over the last 8 years. They've been taking on as much gold as they possibly can because they knew this is an insurance policy against what is going to happen to the dollar. The dollar is going to collapse because we can see what's going on in the Middle East. What's happening in the Middle East? Well, the dollar is backed by oil. And what is happening in the Middle East? Well, the people of each and every one of these countries, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Lebanon, they're all taking back their countries. They don't want the U.S. in there. So what's going to happen? Well, the petrodollar is going to cease to exist. Iran has already said that they're not going to be using the dollar anymore. They're going to trade in other currencies. They're going to bypass it completely. And most of the other countries, they're starting to do this. So we can see we're heading to a major, major problem. This is a collapse scenario we are in, and this is just a summary of what is going on. So we can see right now, if you haven't prepared, you need to prepare at this time. Now you can hear more of all of this in the full report, which is on the X22 Report YouTube channel. And those reports are Monday through Friday, one on Sunday, and they're between 6 and 7 Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to listen to incredible interviews, you can go to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, where you can hear interviews with Cliff High, you can hear interviews with David Morgan, you can hear interviews with Michael Snyder, you can hear interviews with David Stockman, Jim Rickards. So head on over to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, and you can hear all the interviews there.